The Radical. Fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Friday, July 19th. World in chaos. I can't remember who yesterday recommended this topic, happiness in times of chaos, in a time of chaos. A great topic. And it turned out that today is kind of the perfect day to do it. It really is the perfect day to do it. So I figured I'd start out with the chaos because I do owe you kind of a news update. So we'll do a news update, which we focus on the chaos, and then we'll shift to the positive. And I'll make the news update fairly short, so you guys, we can get to the positives quickly here. But I think it was a demon. I can't remember who did it. Anyway, chaos. How did he know that chaos would be the defining word of July 19th? Have you seen what's going on globally at banks and airports and just in IT departments all over the place? I mean, somebody described it as, this is what we thought would happen in Y2K, and it didn't. It's happening now. It's not exactly Microsoft. It's off of Microsoft, people who use Microsoft Windows, but it's a company called CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is a cyber something defense company that is there to protect you from cyber attacks. And I have lowered my AC. I've lowered my AC. Thank you for reminding me. Well, I mean, it doesn't feel like it's low, but I'm hoping it'll keep warming up. It'll keep cooling down as we go. But CrowdStrike is a cyber, a software program that is state of the art in terms of defending you from cyber attack. And Jeremy is very familiar, he says, with using CrowdStrike Falcon. So I'm not going to say too much because Jeremy knows a million times more than I do. I know nothing about this. All I know is they did an update yesterday and pressed update and broke computer systems all over the world. It turns out that they were a leading supplier of cybersecurity software. Many banks, airports, airlines use the software. It is prevalent on a lot of Windows-based systems, and because everybody uses it, they screwed up on the update. Somebody screwed up on a line of code. The whole system came crashing, and what you have right now out there in the world is chaos. I saw somebody actually got a boarding pass handwritten because the computer systems of the airlines are not working. So they were handwriting, I guess this was in India, handwriting boarding passes. We'll see what happens now. CrowdStrike there is a fix to it. But the fix is manual, so this is like the heyday for IT people. IT people rushing in to try to do the fix or whatever, program the fix or apply the fix. I don't think it's a one-size-fit-all. Let's just go back to the previous version and rethink what we just did. I don't think it's that simple. But anyway, if you're in IT, you're probably busy right now. Unless, of course, like the Yaron Brook Show, you use Apple. And if you're in iCloud and everything is Apple, then you're not affected by the CrowdStrike outage. one more advantage of being in the minority and being a little different is that when the whole world collapses, you don't necessarily collapse with it. So anyway, here we are. So chaos. Chaos in our computer world. News today seems to be firming up. It seems to be, there's now real momentum around Biden withdrawing from the presidential race. The expectation is that he'll announce it on Sunday. But it really seems like congressmen, senators, supposedly Obama's behind it, Nancy Pelosi. I don't know if the Clintons still matter or not, but and the last story I read said, and by the way, the family has not come around. So Jill, Hunter, and whoever else counts in their family have come around to the idea that yep, he should withdraw from the race. So you're also seeing him withdraw. The story is right now, at least, is that he will not endorse Kamala. That there will be at the convention, there will be, let's say, 4 candidates, and they'll do some kind of voting thing at the convention and announce the winner and do it. So. Biden is going to retreat, and somebody else will be chosen. It'll probably land up being Kamala for a variety of reasons, including that she has the ability to access Biden's pool of money in an easier, smoother way than any other Democratic candidate. And the other thing is, I'm not sure. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, will there be anybody else who runs, given that they're running against Trump, with Trump having unbelievable momentum right now, and does anybody want to be defeated? Does anybody want to run just to lose? Does that make it more difficult in 4 years to run? Let's say the governor of California, does he want to run now and lose, or does he want to wait, hope there's a recession, MAGA gets discredited, and he can run in 4 years in a much more competitive race? Or does he want to lose now, and that is a stain that is very difficult to erase in 4 years? So hard to tell how the Democrats will strategize this, but it does look like this is going to happen, that Biden will step back. Ryan Ward is suggesting, and he's putting money behind the proposal, that I fly over to the Democratic convention and take it over and use it as an opportunity to take over the party and basically turn the Democratic Party into the party of reason and rationality. I don't believe in miracles. And that's what this would take. And the reality is that since it's clear now, unequivocally, that the Republican Party is the party of God, and Tucker Carlson anointed them that yesterday, and that Donald Trump is the candidate of God. I think both Tucker Carlson and Trump himself anointed himself as that. I just don't see how I can get a miracle, right? I mean, you can only get a miracle if God's on your side, and clearly God has declared his support for the Republican candidates. He saved him from a bullet. We were told that several times during the convention yesterday, that divine intervention spared Trump. It was, after all, just an issue of millimeters, and he survived. Tucker Carlson did declare at the end of his speech at the Republican convention yesterday that this was at the end, the very final words. He got a standing ovation for this. That God is here in the room with us, something like that. God is in this in the convention with us. God is here, and he had no doubt about that. Now, I don't know if he meant Trump is God. I don't know if he meant Trump is maybe Jesus, so he's part of the Trinity. That would make him God too. Or that just God dropped by to help anoint his Messiah, Donald Trump, while he was doing it. I don't know. But God played a big role in yesterday's speeches at the Republican convention. Anyway, I'm not taking over the Democratic Party again. If only I believed that I could get God on my side and provide some miracles, maybe I would do it. But given that God has declared already and has made his views clear, it ain't happening. And the reality is that since age around 6, 7, God's been pissed off at me. So it ain't happening. So I'm not going to the Democratic convention. So the Democrats are going to have to do without me. I'm not sure how they'll survive. And then, so we've got a president of the United States. Talk about chaos. President of the United States is basically not with us. He's like in a, state of in and out. Tucker Carlson made some pretty funny jokes about that yesterday in his speech. It was interesting. God, I mean, his speech was full of these hidden, well, maybe not so hidden kind of implications. Just disgusting. But anyway, yes, we've got a president who's barely conscious. We've got a president we've got a Democratic Party who doesn't have a nominee, really. We've got a Republican Party that has massive amounts of energy, excitement, unity. I mean, the party is the most unified it has ever been. And so you have incredible unity at the Republican Party, and excitement and energy and passion. I mean, the reality is that if the assassination attempt was not staged, it should have been. Now it wasn't. I'm not gonna. Please don't accuse me of conspiracy theories. But it should have been, given how successful it has been in just. I mean, the mood was already pro-Trump, but this is just taking it to the next level. And made Trump really an iconic figure now. So yes, it's. I don't think, Ian. I don't think it's true that Biden is just slow. I mean, that was not slowness at the debate. That was a man who's cognitively not here. The interviews where he jumbles the words and he doesn't remember what he said a minute ago. He's just not here. Now, it's caused by age, but it's bad. It's not just he's slow. He shuffles around. He walks slowly. His mind is in and out. And when it's in, it seems relatively fine. Although, as I've said many times, I've never, ever, ever been impressed with Joe Biden's mind going back a long, long time. But, okay, but he fades out. He's not there. He just isn't. And he can't keep a train of thought. And again, we're not talking about Joe Schmo. I mean, if he was your grandfather, okay, so you treat him nicely and you try to engage with him, but you wouldn't have Joe Biden right now run an American business. You would force him to retire. He wouldn't be. No board of directors would allow Joe Biden to run their business. And I think one of the problems of being in a position to have to fire somebody because of their age It's why institutions have age limitations. I mean, we even at the board at the Ayn Rand Institute, we have an age limitation. Once you reach 80, you leave the board of directors of the Ayn Rand Institute. Because the reality is that over the age of 80, it's unusual that people can stay sharp. And they can deteriorate fairly quickly. And they often don't know that they're deteriorating. And it's not easy to let somebody know that they're deteriorating. They don't have enough, they're not there enough to have the self-awareness to know that they're deteriorating. And that's part of the problem. It's why you got to ease them out. So as somebody who's getting closer to that age, not there, far from it, but getting closer to that age, I can tell you it's on. I think about it a lot because I think about what it would be like and how I want to deal with it. And I hope people tell me, and I hope I can do it, ease out of things, right? So that I'm not eased out of them. I mean, Biden, it's awful what's happening with Biden. He should have 6 months ago said, I'm not going to run. I'm too old. Even if I'm okay now, in 2 years, I'm not going to be okay. In 3 years, in 4 years, the likelihood that I will be fine at 85 if a war with China breaks out, that I will be at top form to be able to make the kind of decisions that need to be made. I think anybody honest about their age would say, when you're 80, 81, I'm not making long-term commitments that will require me in 2, 3, 4 years to make important, crucial decisions. It's just not right. It's not fair. It's not fair for the people that work for you. It's not fair for the people around you. It's not fair to the country. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And it's irresponsible. It's chaotic. And Biden should have acted on it 6 months ago. And it shows the kind of, I don't know, he finally became president. He doesn't want to walk away, or he feels like he hasn't gotten the respect he deserves. It's going to be a positive. I know. He hasn't got the respect he deserves. So he wants a second term. Maybe he can earn the respect. The economy's done well and nobody appreciates it. So yeah, you got, I think, chaos in the White House. I mean, the Republican convention yesterday was just horrible, again, for the reason I said. I don't know if you watched Trump's 90-minute speech. I didn't, but I read the transcript. It's much faster because you don't get the applause lines, and you can read it much faster than Trump says it. And I hate listening to Trump. I mean, I just find it's going to be positive. God, guys, give me a break. I have chaos, semicolon, achieving happiness. I have to do the chaos first. So Trump's speech yesterday was terrible. Here's a funny piece, and then we'll go on. He goes on this rant against Bukele in San Salvador. I don't know why, of all the countries in Latin America. So he goes on this rant about Bukele, because Bukele, you know, if you have a tattoo that looks like a gang tattoo, Bukele's arrested you and put you in jail. So Trump, and as a consequence, El Salvador has gone from the #1 murder rate in the world to pretty safe, really, really safe. And as a consequence, Bukele is very popular and everything, because El Salvador is suddenly safe because all the people who could commit crimes, but not only those people, are now in jail. Well, Trump has a different explanation for why San Salvador is safe. He says the reason is that Bukele has sent all the murderers, all the drug guys to America. And that's why crime in America is going out of control because of the El Salvador gangs. And in Salvador, it's going down because he sent them all over here. And then Trump says, Yeah, I mean, if I was the leader of a South American country or Latin American country, I would do the same thing. It's just, I mean, I'm laughing because what else do you do? I mean, this guy's going to be president for another 4 years. It's just absurd. All right, quickly. France in Europe, complete disarray politically. It's nutty out there. China is spiraling into a recession. Its economy's in trouble. They just come out with more central planning ideas. And, you know, we're not even going to talk about the Middle East, which is just a frigging disaster, and Ukraine. And both places are dragging the world towards more warfare. And you could go on and on and on. I mean, we live in a world in which political chaos is prevalent, and hard to tell what is going to happen tomorrow. So you know, that is where we are. And then, so the positive question is, this is how we move to the positive. That was a summary of the state of the world today. I mean, very quick, much worse. The question is, what do you do? How do you achieve anything, happiness, in the world in which we live, given this complete and utter chaos and destructiveness and malevolence and evil that really is rampant around the world, whether it's Putin or Hamas or everywhere around here. Open mindset elect Trump. Yeah, and then the chaos just gets worse. Remember the first 4 years of Trump? I know you don't remember that. That's why you can vote for Trump. And I think Andrew says turn to religion. I think a big part of why people are turning to religion is, yeah, they're trying to find order within the chaos. They're trying to get away from dealing with this. They're trying to figure this out. But we've got another Trump supporter. That's fine. You guys can support Trump. I'm not going to argue with you today. Today we're talking about something positive, which Trump is not. Trump is not. But the turn towards religion that many people take is not going to lead to happiness. Religion is not a place of happiness. Religion is a place of, you know, disconnection from reality. Religion is a place of duty and commandments and ultimately mindlessness. It's a place of fear and guilt. It is not a place of happiness. So how does one attain happiness in this world of chaos? How do you get there? And I'm going to assume something right now. I'm going to assume that you are all, assume you're familiar with Ayn Rand's philosophy. So I'm not going to go into a whole dive into the need for moral values and the need to kind of really take seriously your morality. What I want to focus today is something I've focused on many times before, but I think it just needs repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. And that is the need to focus on values. The need to figure out what your values are. Focus on the values that are personal to you. Now, that requires you to have your moral values, in a sense, nailed down, to understand them, to know what they are. It requires you to be dedicated to a life of reason, a life of rationality, to be dedicated to productiveness, to be dedicated to a life of integrity. But assuming you have all that, assuming you understand all that, how do you make it real? And this is really the path to happiness. The path to happiness is to take your moral values and to make them a reality in your life. To take your moral values and virtues and do them, act on them. In your life, in your day-to-day activities. Because the reality is that there is so much in your day-to-day life that is only indirectly affected by the chaos in the world. That is only indirectly affected by the insanity and irrationality that is around you. And if that's not the case, if the reality is that you are constantly being affected by the irrationality and by the chaos in politics and the political world around you and the culture, then you've got to restructure your life. So I say step one is recommit yourself. Step one is recommit yourself to moral values. Recommit yourself to what they are: reason, purpose, self-esteem, and then the moral virtues, the actions that you need to take, the actions that are necessary for you to take to achieve those moral values. And this is something anybody can do. The world does not, the world around you has no impact on whether you choose to embrace morality seriously or not. The world around you will not affect your choice to be rational and commit yourself to it. The world around you does not force you into dishonesty. It cannot force you into injustice. I mean, injustices might be committed on you. So we still live in a world that's free enough where you can recommit yourself to your purpose, where you can recommit yourself to attaining self-esteem and to keeping that self-esteem. And we live in a world that's free still enough where you can still live an honest, productive life. So commit yourself to a life of virtue. Not Christian virtue, not conventional virtue, not altruistic virtue, but a life of selfish virtue. A life focused on you. A life focused on achieving your own values, on achieving your own goals. Happiness will come when you achieve your goals, when you recognize that achievement, when you live a life where you know you are doing everything you can to achieve your values, where you've identified your values, where you know what you're going after, and you know you're acting in the best way possible to you in the achievement of those, even if there are obstacles placed in your way by the culture, by the world, by the politics, by taxes, by regulations, and everything else. So, step one is committing to those virtues and values. Step two is spend some time identifying your specific concrete values. Spend time thinking about your plan for achieving reason, purpose, self-esteem. Sit down with a piece of paper. Thinking in writing is always really incredibly beneficial. What is my career? Career being, for most of us, our central purpose. What is our career? What is my career? What steps am I taking to achieve it? Well, before that, am I sure this is the career I want? Am I sure I haven't compromised? Am I doing this because I truly, rationally, taking in all the evidence into account, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to spend my time. This is where I want to focus my energy, time. This is where I want to spend most of my day, doing whatever it is you've chosen. Is this the career I really want? Or is it just, I don't know, the easy path? Is it the path others want me to take? Is it what I've been trained for and I don't feel like going to school to train for something else? So really spend time thinking about this. Everybody, even if you think you're happy in your career, it doesn't hurt to give it some thought, to think it through, to talk it through, to write it through. I mean, you can even ask your friends or loved ones to talk it through with them. I mean, this is partially what friends are for talking through issues, personal questions, where you can, be honest and about what you think and getting good advice. Don't think that because we're individualists, because we're selfish, we shouldn't get advice from our loved ones, from your spouse, from your good friends. That's not second-handed. You still the one who will make the decision, but having some other rational mind, hear what you have to say, who knows who you are, and give you advice is incredibly valuable. Doesn't mean you have to follow it, but it's another input. It's another set of eyes. It's another brain, really. Why not? This, again, one reason to have friends is to leverage their brain power to help you live the best life that you can live. So focus, for example, on purpose, on your career. Think about what the obstacles are and how you can overcome them. Have a plan to overcome them. And do this on a regular basis. Think on a positive direction. Now, if you get to the point where you say, ugh, this is useless, the culture won't let me, the bureaucrats won't let me, the regulators won't let me, my boss is irrational, these people are irrational. I want you to step back from thoughts like that and think about all the people in the world in which we live today who have unbelievably successful careers in spite of the irrationality, in spite of the politics, in spite of the crazy bosses. So I'm not saying all of that is irrational, because a lot of it is true. The world in which we live makes the achievement of any one of our values more difficult. But that does not diminish our need to achieve them. It's a need. It's a need. And every time we capitulate to fear, or we capitulate to doubt, then we lose sight of the values and we walk away from attaining values, and we walk away in the end from happiness. So I have a plan for the achievement of your values. Take it seriously. Revise the plan on a regular basis. Don't let obstacles stand in your way. Be objective about them. You know, look at, and here, I think you can, this is another point where you can look at other people. Find some role models. Find people who are facing similar problems that you have. Find people who are being incredibly successful, who you can admire. And, you know, try to figure out how they did it. I don't know, there are entrepreneurs out there every day starting new businesses in spite of all the regulations and all the controls. California is going to pass an AI bill here to regulate AI. And in spite of that, billions of dollars are flowing into AI, and people are starting businesses and figuring out, and they'll figure out how to get around the regulations. It's a waste of time. It'll require them to waste energy, to waste resources. Okay, but they are going to achieve their goals. Why can't you? And, you know, one of the things I find disappointing is that people use their objectivism to justify walking away from their values. They think that because they have a better understanding of the world, because Ayn Rand has gifted them this amazing philosophy, that then they are now more critical of the world. They can see all its problems and that, and then so they can walk away from it much easier. But that's upside down. Objectivism should be a tool for you to achieve your values, to succeed, to prosper, and ultimately to achieve happiness. So, again, focus on what it's going to take to achieve. Focus on the positive. Focus on what is achievable and how you can push yourself to achieve it. You're not going to be happy by sitting on the sofa playing video games. As fun as that might be, you're not going to be happy with it. You're not going to be happy. I don't know, smoking dope every day and vegging out, even if it's just for a few hours. And no, it does not depend on the game. I'm not against video game. You can do that. But that's not where you'll get your happiness, A. And B, if you overdo it, you're undermining your happiness without any question. You're not going to get happiness by saying, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. Oh, and I'll get to it tomorrow. And tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. Happiness requires action. It requires getting stuff done. Thinking and doing. Can we drink scotch? Not in quantity, no. Not every day, no. It sucks, but it's true. You can't be happy doing those things. Sometimes what gives you pleasure in the short run does not add to your happiness in the long run. And happiness is about the long run. It's a state of joy. It's a state of integration. It's a state of well-being that is sustainable, that is sustained. All right, so focus on those values, have a plan, seek their achievement. Career being one, but all of them, right? And career being the one that necessitates kind of more than any having a real plan, purpose, boiling down to career, but it's about everything. You're lonely. Well, do something about it. Go find some friends. There are plenty of people out there who you can find value in. They might not be your best friend forever. They might not be completely, agreeable to you philosophically. But there are good people out there. They're good, productive, fairly happy people out there. Find them. Find them. And if friendship is important to you, and if you lack it, make an effort. And if you have it, make an effort to keep those friends. Incredibly valuable. Don't give them up. So figure out the concrete things that you want. The concrete things that are important to you. You want to, and think about the things that are in your control. What do you control in your life? Well, those are the things you should really focus on. You control much of your own actions. You control, I think, much of your own career. And if you don't, then you need to maybe switch jobs and rethink it. You can control the environment in which you live. Your home, whatever size it is, whatever location it is, you can control what's inside of it. You can control whether it's chaos or whether it's beautiful. Doesn't take much to turn something into something beautiful. A few pictures on the wall, some flowers, a plant here and there, decent, nice furniture, and you've got a beautiful home without spending huge amounts of money. So think about how to turn your home into a place that you love going to. It's fun, engaging, exciting. And do that in every aspect of your life. Fun, engaging, exciting. Happiness, the state of happiness is a state of, what did I see? Fred Hopper used the term vitality. Yeah, it's a state of excitement. It's a state of engagement. It's a state of action. It's a state of being ready for life and embracing it. So turn the world in which you live. Take control of it. Take control of it. Design it, structure it, figure it out so that it serves the purposes you need, that it gives you fuel. It is a place where you can be happy. You can pursue your values. You enjoy going home to. So focus on your career. Focus on your home. Friends. Focus on friends. Focus on romantic love. Boil down what your life is like. Take your life and say, am in every aspect of my life, in every realm in which I deal in my life, am I doing the best that I can to achieve my values? And do I know what those values are? Do I know what those values are? Have I even defined them? Or am I think most people in the culture in which we live, most people are just drifting. Oh, I like that. I'll go with that. I like something else. I like it over there. I don't know. I've got a job, pays me well. That's okay. I'm living where I live. What I want, I think this is the point. Everything in your life should be purposeful. Why do you live? I don't know. People are talking about where they live. So why do you live in Park Slope, Brooklyn? Right? Why do you live in Park Slope, Brooklyn? Is that, for you, the best place in the world you could live in? given your circumstances, given everything else, right? Is that a choice that you made, or do you just fall back on it because it was comfortable and it was easy? And I'm not going after Dave Goodman personally, but just because he put out a place. Like, all of you should be living in a place because that's where you want to live. And that's where you want to live because you've thought about it, you've judged it, you've evaluated, you brought your reason and applied it, and you've decided, yeah, this is where I want to live. Now, some of you are too young and maybe haven't traveled and haven't seen the world and haven't seen other places or haven't really considered it, but you should, particularly when you're young. Go check out a few places. I know this is, many people find this horrible, but if you can afford it, go spend some time in New York. Check it out. Everybody likes to hate on California, but go spend a little time in California. See what you think. I don't know about Wisconsin, but, Austin. But, if you love the cold, check out Wisconsin. I mean, there's so many Americans. They're born somewhere, they live that same place, they die in the same place. And maybe that's fine, but you decide if it's fine. And the only way you can decide if it's fine is if you test the waters. Go test the waters. Get up from your butt and go test the waters. Generally, get up from your butt is a good path towards happiness. Get up and act based on thinking. But go find friends. Go find a great place to live. Go find the best job that you can find. Go seek out your values. They won't just plop. They won't just show up. They won't just come to you. Right? Again, to do that, you need to figure out what they are. You need to think about, what are my values? And for that, Carl says, learn to introspect. Yeah, learn to introspect. Learn to introspect. Ask yourself questions. What do I like? Why do I like it? Make lists. Things I like. Why do I like these things? Why don't I like these other things? Maybe there's a list of things you don't like. And I'm talking about concretes. So, think, introspect, really dig into your values. I mean, I don't know. I know this will get me in trouble. If you're married, once in a while, you should really sit down and think, am I happy with my marriage? Is this what I want? Is this, the life I want? Again, a lot of people settle. A lot of people settle. This is the way this is what I know. This is the way it's been for a long time. This is just how it is. It's too scary to go out and change things. So I'm not going to change things, not because I don't think I could do better or I don't think I could have a better life with somebody else, let's say, but because I'm comfortable. Comfort doesn't lead to happiness. Comfort doesn't lead to happiness. Just being content doesn't lead to happiness. Happiness is a state of excitability. You're excited. You're thrilled. Things are good. Now, that doesn't mean things don't get bad once in a while, that you can't be down on things, that there are no challenges in a relationship or in work or anything else. It means that in spite of those challenges, you know you can work through them. Yeah, Christian says, Yaron made it pretty clear. I need to date again because romantic love is important. Yes, romantic love is crucial. It's one of the great joys in life. I won't say you can't be happy without romantic love, but it sure makes it much easier to be happy with romantic love than without it. Date. And don't be afraid to date. I know so many men today are so afraid of the women out there. What have you got to be afraid of? You're not even dating them. Don't like them, leave them. You're not committing. And before you get married, somebody, make sure that they're the right person for you. But go out there, date, act. Act. Get up off your butt, generally. Off that sofa. Away from that, whiskey, pot, whatever your escape of choice is, and go do something that'll enhance your happiness. And, it's not that, I don't think you need any, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't think you need any sophisticated tips on dating or things like that. Just go out there and meet people. Now, I know that dating apps, and today everything's done by apps, and I have no advice for that because I have no idea what that means. But, take it seriously. Think it through. It's not that complicated. It's another human being across from you. Engage with them. Friend Harper says, I have a romantic anxiety. I don't think I have a grounded idea of romance, so I am uncertain about its nature. I mean, the nature of romantic love is fundamentally love, right? And the romantic part of it is a strong attachment to the person that includes sex. It's not some mystery. Romance is not about flowers and about opening doors. And I never opened doors, and I've never brought flowers. So it's about connecting with a person. It's about being there for them. It's about having great, contact. It's about having great discussion. It's about the emotion that this person is unbelievably important for your life. Right? That your life is not whole without this person. That's romantic love. I married a Latin woman. What is this, David? I mean, well, I don't know. Technically, she's an honorary Latin woman. She's, but he says, had you married a Latin woman, you would have brought flowers. Not in Israel. Nobody brings flowers in Israel. Mating is very different. The mating process in Israel is very different than it is in the rest of the world. It's much more straightforward. It's much more about, I don't know, being straightforward, about having a relationship, about engaging with one another. There's a lot less of the courtship, I think, that goes on in Israel, at least in my day. I don't know what it's like today. Soup Creek's cast said I should do the entire show about the Israeli dating scene, of which I know nothing. I know nothing of, but certainly today. And, my day, I mean, God. I knew nothing about the dating scene. This is the thing. This is the thing about it. It's, I took my wife, our first date was I took her to a lecture by a local objectivist. And on the first date, I gave her a copy of The Fountainhead. I mean, do not mimic my dating experience. Do not. I do not think it is reflective of reality and the world out there. So I got lucky because she was amazing. So in spite of my lack of romance and lack of flowers and lack of any of those things, I landed the best woman I could, the best woman in the world for me. So Yeah, I'm lucky it worked out. Luck had a lot to do with it. No question. Well, I mean, I was a pretty good guy. So that had a lot to do with it too. So you got to work at it. There's no shortcuts. Got to work at it. Everything. And once you're in a relationship, it's constant work. There's no, I found a woman and it's just cruise. I'm just cruising along and there's no issue. Yes, my version of do as I say, not as I do. Do not do as I do. In some cases. Some cases you should. Ben says, the fact that it worked out, Yaron, is awesome. My girl read 3 chapters of Fountainhead and gave up. Maybe I'll try again one day with her laugh out. Maybe give her Anthem or We the Living. I mean, you know, switch books, switch it up a little bit. No, my wife came back the next day. She'd already started reading. And she, you know, basically she was captured by the first line. Howard Rourke laughs. That got her. And she just breezed through the rest and loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I mean, it very much reflected who she was, who she is, and her personality. So, all right. So, you know, energy and action are unbelievably important for achieving values and for living a good life and for achieving happiness. And of course, it's a spiral. Because part of the lack of energy that a lot of people have, the couch potato, is a lack of clearly defined values. And once you have clearly defined values, the next step is a plan. Actual plan. How am I going to achieve them? What am I going to do? And some of you will need a very detailed plan just to get going. And some of you, just some big pointers will be enough. But Andrew says living is action. Yes, life is movement. Life is action. So identify the values. But I want to be really clear here because we don't want to be subjectivist. Identify those values, but question every one of them. Why do I love this? Is it rational for me to want this? Is this the best use of my time if I am to achieve flourishing and ultimately happiness? Is this the best use of my time in pursuing values? I want to climb Mount Everest. Okay, but is climbing Mount Everest really the most important thing I should think about right now? By the way, I don't want to climb it. You know, here's something I do want. I consider this a fantasy, not a value. I want a Ferrari. I don't really want a Ferrari. In other words, I don't really want to invest what is necessary in order to achieve a Ferrari. Whether that's money or whether that's time to gain the money or whether that's energy or whatever. So if Ferrari makes my list, it's like, okay, is pursuing a Ferrari right now, just as a material value, is pursuing a Ferrari right now, how high should it be on my list in terms of the actions that I take? No, not very high. Not that important. Maybe I can go to like one of these racetracks and get a Ferrari or an Aston Martin and just drive around the track for a day. Maybe I can save up a little bit of money to do that, but I don't really need a day-to-day Ferrari. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I think about what it would entail, the more I think about all of that, I really don't want a Ferrari. And I don't. So you've got to work it through. You've got to put down the list and figure out, is this a rational value in the context of my life? Is this a priority? Is this rational? Because your values, your desires might come from an emotion that might not be based on proper conclusions. I've never driven a Ferrari, although I've been in a Ferrari, that is, with somebody else. Actually, the only time I've been in a Ferrari was Terry Goodkind's Ferrari, if you know who Terry Goodkind is, the fantasy author who wrote the fantasy books. And he had a Ferrari. He had more than one at some point, and then he got mad at Ferrari and he switched to Lamborghinis. But he had a Ferrari, and he took me for a spin in his Ferrari. And that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I just regret I didn't ask him if he'd let me drive it. He might have let me drive it. I'm not sure. Soup Cask wants to gift me a Ferrari instead of Super Chats. That's a lot of Super Chats. A lot of Super Chats. But right now, I'd rather take the cash. Cash is a value, Ferrari not so much. That's the reality in the context of my life, right? So no, I don't want the Ferrari. Please don't gift me a Ferrari. Give me the Super Chat. Super Chat's more valuable. But that's just an example of something you might desire, you might want, and then think about it, and then say, nah, I don't really want it. It's not really important. This is why you got to make lists. You got to actually write them down. You got to think them through. You got to evaluate. Evaluate. Think. Be rational. And then have plans around different ones. And then execute. Execute. Go do it. Go do it. Yeah, one of David says, imagine a Ferrari on those roads in Puerto Rico. Yes, one of my main reasons I don't want a Ferrari today is you can't drive it here. I mean, it would fall into one of those potholes and never be seen again. Although I had a neighbor who had a Ferrari, and I've got neighbors who have Ferraris, and I know people driving Ferraris out there. I kind of feel sorry for them. What a waste. You want a Ferrari on the Autobahn in Germany, or you want a Ferrari on some hilly, windy road in Italy or something, but not in Puerto Rico. All right, so the way to achieve happiness in a world filled with chaos is to bring order to your life, is to separate yourself from that chaos as much as you can. It's to create an environment, a world, a life that is a life where you are pursuing your chosen values. And the chaos around you is there. It affects you, no question. But in your life, you are in control. You know why you're doing what you're doing. You know that what you're doing is in the pursuit of your flourishing, your life, your happiness. You know that what matters is you, your happiness, your success. And all this other noise around you, it's sad that it's there. This is how I think about politics. It's sad that it's there. It pisses me off that it's there. But it only goes so deep. Because in many regards, I have the life that I want to live. I'm doing the things I want to do. I have relationships with the people I want to have relationships with. I can read the books I want to read, watch the movies I want to watch. And indeed, one of the things that I think one should do in one's life to manage it is embrace the good. So I love all the technology I have at my disposal. It just amazes me. So I can focus on how unbelievably corrupt and evil Donald Trump is. Or I can focus as what an amazing achievement it is for me to be able to speak here in Puerto Rico to a camera and be watched by thousands of people, or listened to by thousands of people all over the world, and literally all over the world. I mean, that's cool. And I get to do what I love to do, which is talk and promote the ideas I believe in. But think about that technology. It didn't exist not that long ago. And yeah, when it breaks like it did today in much of the world, it's awful. But hey, it's amazing technology. And most of the time it works. And I look up from my desk and I'm surrounded by beautiful things. I've actually got 2 drawings of Ayn Rand on the wall. I've got pictures and paintings, and it's cool. It's a great place to be. And yeah, Puerto Rico has potholes, but it has good food, and it's got beautiful ocean, and it's got a beautiful view, and I'm having fun. So there's so many things to be positive about that you look out there. AI, wait until you see the Yaron Brook clone. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway. So think about not just all the things in your life, but think about all the things out there in the world, the biotech stuff that's going on, the new cure for cancer, the ability today to monitor our health and to engage in activities, and we know what will promote our health and what will promote our life. We know so much more today than we did 20 years ago, even 20 years ago, but certainly 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 200 years ago. I mean, it's shocking. 200 years ago, they were still letting out blood when you were sick. And I can get on a plane. I mean, this is stunning to me, right? I can get on a plane, and within a few hours, I can be anywhere in the world. I'm literally, in November, December, I'm going to fly around the world. So I am going to, on a concrete level, very perceptually, I am going to prove that the world is round because I'm going to fly around it. I'm flying from Puerto Rico to London, from London to Sydney, from Sydney to LA, from LA to Puerto Rico. I mean, that's pretty amazing that I can do that. All you Australians out there, I'm coming to see you. We're going to do some events in Australia. So, you know, you can get on a plane and travel anywhere. And look, you can live anywhere. I mean, there are digital nomads now, the young people. And I'm a little jealous, I have to say, because this would be fun when you were young, and if you have the ability to do this, if you work in the right kind of job, you can go live in, you know, I don't know, you can live in Lisbon for 6 months and work there. They have special deals now, tax-wise and immigration-wise, for digital nomads, and then you can go to Athens and live in Athens for a while, and then you can maybe go to Singapore and Sydney and maybe even Tokyo. You spend 3 months in Tokyo, working in Tokyo, and then fly to Los Angeles. And so when I say check places out, you can literally go check places out and work in those places and experience them. And I mean, wow. Couldn't do that even just a few years ago. Infrastructure didn't exist. It's thanks to the internet, but it's also thanks to the governments have now opened up to allow this kind of stuff. Christian wants a real Yaron, not an AI bot. God, why are you selling my AI bot short? Maybe you'll like my AI bot even more than you like me. So, I mean, think about all the wonders that the world around provides for us. I say this often, but I can sit on my TV and I can watch, I don't know, you know, you can pretty much find any movie you can think of is streamed to you at a marginal cost of zero often, or at a very low cost if you have to rent it. Any movie. I mean, the cultural achievements in the field of movies, in the field of music, are all accessible to you, almost at a marginal cost of zero, right here. I mean, I don't think you guys appreciate that. I don't think very many people do. And that has to make other values possible in ways that you couldn't imagine. Aesthetic values, for example. You can now, I mean, how many of you would have a goal, for example? I want to watch like the great movies of the past. I'm going to, over the next 2 years, I'm going to watch 20, 30 great movies from the past. I mean, that would be fun. At least once a month. I'm going to find a great movie, I don't know, from the 40s or 50s or 60s, great movie that I would otherwise never watch. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to subscribe to a channel that has these, and I'm going to watch them. I mean, there were a lot of movies. There were a lot of great movies that you guys don't know exist. And I'm sure you haven't watched yet. So the number of experiences open to you, the number of potential aesthetic experiences open to you is just stunning, stunning. And so take advantage of it. Aesthetics is another value you can attain. Aesthetic experiences is a value you can attain much easier today than at any point in human history. I want to go see the Mona Lisa live. Get on a plane, fly to Paris, buy the ticket in advance to get into the Louvre because you can't, same day you'd have to stay in the line for a long time. You can do it. Don't go during the Olympics. Don't recommend it. But you can go. There's almost nothing aesthetically today in the world out there that you cannot experience either from your home, movies, music, or by getting on a plane and going there. So again, you achieve happiness in a time of chaos by bringing order and a focus on values to your life. And a focus on values means choosing, evaluating, choosing, pursuing, acting, engaging. Get off your butt. Go do it. And in that sense, it's never been, for a lot of values, it's never been easier in all of human history. So don't let the politics, don't let the irrationality, don't get the chaos and the darkness out there affect your drive to achieve your values. Screw them. Screw them. You're not going to let them break you. All right, that's my spiel. Positive spiel. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully it gets you excited and motivated to do more. All right. Let's see. We have a lot of questions. David has the lead with the most money put on a question so far. David says, what does Objectivism say to a person that was wrong, that has wronged another, and is doing everything possible to make amends, but is still not regaining the transgressed trust and forgiveness? I mean, sometimes you just can't. And you might not, depending on what you did and how badly you wronged the other person. Sometimes it's just, you can't turn the clock backwards. This is why it's so important to act rationally and to be careful. And to take advantage of every moment. So sometimes it's just not possible. But the other thing is, it might be worth asking the person against whom you transgressed, what's it going to take? And ask them not to answer in the moment of passion. Ask them to really think about it. What would it I mean, assuming this is real value to you, this is what you want. What would it take for me to regain your trust? What would it take to be forgiven? And I think, often the other party is so emotionally upset by whatever it is you did that they haven't really thought that through. And it could be that they're not ready yet to think it through. But that's ultimately what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to think it through. And the more they think about what you would need to do in order to gain forgiveness, that emotion will probably start subsiding. The emotion will probably start subsiding. So, that's the best advice I can give, is talk to them. Try to get an idea from them what they think would help it subside. Well, Troy, thank you. Really, really appreciate it. Troy just came in with 500 Australian dollars. Troy is, I think, in Brisbane. I'm looking forward to meeting Troy when I'm in Australia in December. Thank you, Troy, for your ongoing support these these years now. I don't know about many. It's not really many, but years. John, thank you for the sticker. Let's see, what other stickers do we have here? Soupy Cask, thank you for the sticker. Paul, thank you for the sticker. Doron Regev, thank you. Let's see who I missed. Who did I miss? Nobody there. We're good day. Jack Blackford. And I think Martin Anderson, Mike Theil. Thank you, all of you guys. Doron Regev. We said Doron. Okay, so, and finally again, Troy, thank you, who blasted it through our goal. So we're doing great. All right, where were we? So yes, David. Hopefully that gives you a starting point. At the end of the day, the forgiver is going to set the terms. If they can set the terms explicitly, if they can actually let you know what those terms are, that'll make life a lot easier. Okay, Jennifer. It's Mina's 4th birthday today. Happy birthday, Mina. Mina's Jennifer's dog, right? Dog. Tomorrow we're taking her on a road trip up north to Duluth, Minnesota. Duluth, Minnesota. I'm glad you're doing that trip in the summer. And because Minnesota in the winter, Duluth, Minnesota in the winter, that's brutal. So it's good that you're going in the summer. And have fun. Have fun and send our best to Mina. And let's see. Tom says, I'm contributing a small portion of my single malt scotch budget. Yes. That means he's going to consume a little bit less scotch and do a lot more value pursuing. I'm kidding. There's nothing wrong with pursuing scotch as a value. I know quite a few people who love scotch as a value. So I do not have the appreciation of it, and I couldn't drink more than a teeny little bit. But I appreciate that people really value it and enjoy it and get a lot of satisfaction out of tasting scotch and drinking scotch. So go for it. Go for it. Enjoy. Absolutely. Remo says, have you seen the documentary, The Hong Konger, about Jimmy Lai? I recommend it. Truly an inspiring man. I haven't seen the documentary, but he's an inspiring man, even without the documentary. So Jimmy Lai he's a guy who ultimately, towards the end of his life, couldn't control the chaos, and the chaos invaded his life, and he is now in jail as a consequence. But this is a true rags to riches story, an amazing guy who both achieved great financial success, bootstrapped himself, and also gained an appreciation for the right ideas, at least at some level, the ideas of liberty and freedom, and fought for them. And that's why he's in jail now by the Chinese Communist government. It's sad that he didn't leave. I wish he'd left. I know he wanted to stay to fight, but at some point the fight is hopeless. At some point you have to leave. And I wish he would have left. I wish he would have left. Thank you for the recommendation. I have not seen it. What streaming platform did you see it on? Clark. I was just in Miami, and there's a ton of people from California living there. Silicon Valley types. And people from LA are pouring into South Florida. Are we witnessing a brain drain from blue to red? Well, I mean, I think we've seen a slow trickle out of California. Maybe there was a small flood during COVID, but a lot of people have gone back to California, particularly Silicon Valley. Yes, I mean, look, there is here are the people moving out of California. On the one hand, the poor, a lot of lower middle class, poor people are moving out of California. They just can't afford it. And the commute is just too horrific. And they're moving out. And then it's, I'd say, upper middle class are moving out. So they can still afford to live in California, but they can't live well, certainly not as well as they can other places, and they can go to Austin and raise their standard of living dramatically. Dramatically, and same with Miami. My understanding is that the number of people from at least Silicon Valley moving to Miami has slowed down. It was a big rush during COVID, and that some of them have actually gone back to California. Same in Austin. And the slowdown you can see in Austin real estate. So there's a lot of building because of that rush of people, and real estate prices are now collapsing in Austin because of that. But yeah, there is a brain drain, particularly at the upper middle class kind of, experienced programmers, people who can easily find a job elsewhere or can work remotely. I think are leaving and have left California, but and going to a variety of different places. But again, California is a pretty difficult place to leave because life there is so comfortable. You can create your part of non-chaotic life pretty well, unless you're in LA where there were riots during Black Lives Matter, or unless you're not wealthy enough to be able to afford the taxes that you have to pay. And some people are not, right? Taxes can really take enough money to make a huge, huge, huge difference in your life. Certainly my case. Reason I left is I was just at that point where the taxes were so high that having that extra money made such a huge difference in my life that it was worth leaving in order to get that money. But that's not always the case. Okay, The Godfather. PBMs under fire from New York Times because of monopoly practices. I think New York Times misfires on the attack and think this can be used to dereg healthcare. PBMs have existed since the 1950s. Why? What can we do about PBMs? Should they be abolished? Well, what we need is to privatize healthcare. What we need is to privatize health insurance, which is not privatized because it's so heavily regulated and price controlled. What we need is a movement away from the socialization of medicine. And in America, socialization of medicine has occurred through employers and through massive insurance companies. What we need is to individualize and privatize healthcare. You should own your insurance policy. There should be competition to try to get you to buy insurance. And that will then drive the market to change its structure. And I don't know what the right structure is. I don't know if PBMs would exist in a free market or not. PBMs are pharmaceutical buyers something. So these are the entities that sit between pharmaceutical companies and pharmacies. And they buy the pharmaceuticals they buy the drugs from the pharmaceuticals and sell them to the pharmacies. But there are all kind of antitrust regulations about who can own PBMs. There are all kinds of price controls at the pharmaceutical level, at the PBM level. And then there's all kind of constraints that the insurance companies placed on them. And then some of the PBMs are now owned by insurance companies. That's one of the points the New York Times is making. And that distorts things, maybe. So there is a massive distortion in the healthcare market. Massive distortion in the healthcare market. And, you know, that is, that distortion is hard to unwind. It's hard to figure out what caused it, hard to figure out where it came from, given the nature of the market, its complexity, and the role of government in it. So, it's hard to say to somebody, I know what the solution to PBMs are. I don't. I know that the solution to healthcare is a marketplace, a real marketplace. The solution to healthcare is privatization. And then once that happens, let's see where that leads us. And let's see how the market evolves and how the market structures itself. Central planners shouldn't structure the market. Markets should structure themselves. Liam says, do people become ugly souls because they're cowards and resent those who aren't? I don't know. I mean, they become ugly souls because I think because they recognize and identify the fact that they don't have control, if you will, command of their own soul, right? Of their own soul. So it's the fact that they have no control. And when you don't have, and they're upset about that, I think it usually happens to people who have some recognition of that, and they become resentment, and they become angry, and cowardly is part of that. Part of that is cowardice. Or a lot of people embrace an ugly soul because that's all they've known. They've had a tough childhood, or the environment has been awful, and they don't have the courage, or they don't have the capacity, or they don't have the will to challenge that, and they've just absorbed the kind of soul their parents provided, their parents shaped. They're secondhand, they're weak. But it's a sign of weakness. Tana, hi Yaron, I just graduated from college and moved to New York City to pursue my dream in life. Thanks for the continuous snippets of inspiration and encouragement on the show. Always makes me feel better. My pleasure. Thank you, Tana, for letting me know. I appreciate it, and I hope you can fulfill your dreams in New York City. That's great. Go for it. Andrew, most children have values. What happens such that most give up on the pursuit of values in adulthood? I think one of the most powerful essays Ayn Rand ever wrote, what is the name of the essay? It's in the Romantic Manifesto. And it's about a man who found heroic romantic values in his childhood, in maybe cartoons and maybe books and other things like that. And but was always told by the adults around him, you know, stop dreaming, stop living in a fantasy land. You need to be real. Life is not like that. That's just in comic books. Reality is ugly. You just have to plow your way through life. And then they penalize the kid for pursuing his values. They constantly attack him for being a valuer. And you know, there's nothing worse that you can do to a child. Nothing worse, but so many parents are like that. It comes from, I don't think from nihilism, it comes from cynicism. Just cynicism. Values are not achievable. Thank you, Richard. It's called Art and Moral Treason. It's so powerful. It's so emotional. Art and Moral Treason. And she goes through the psychology of this man. And he's fighting it because he's discovered objectivism, discovered Ayn Rand. So he's fighting it. And it's still hard to get away from that. So we live in a cynical world. I mean, I think watching South Park and watching The Simpsons will make you an anti-valuer. Because, and it's the most popular entertainment of the last 20 years. Because all those shows are primarily anti-values. They're cynical about anything important. There's nothing important in them. Everything is to be laughed at. Everything is to be ridiculed. Everything is to be put down. There are no heroes. There's no good characters. There's nothing positive. Nothing. So I don't think only parents do that. I think the culture does it as well. So as I said, I think Simpsons, South Park, just the atmosphere and the culture. Oh, you want to be a doctor? Don't be ridiculous. You're poor. You're this or you're that. I think South Park's very anti-values. I mean, South Park in small doses is fine because it makes fun of real things. But if you watch a lot of South Park, and that's part of what your aesthetic diet is, then what you get is everything is worthy of attack. Everything is worthy of attack. What are good shows with great values? Oh, God. I mean, this is the problem of catching me with a blank out. I mean, think about this, too. What are the good shows our culture has to offer? Breaking Bad. What values are being pursued there? None. Just criminality. Everybody loves the show, And there's no positive value. There's no good guys in the show. And the good guys, they are semi-good guys in the show, right? The family members and the FBI guy or the police guy. And they get destroyed. They get annihilated. And the reality is that everybody thinks that the hero, the main character is a hero in our culture. Like, I found the final chapter of that, the final episode of Breaking Bad, to be horrific. He goes out in a blaze of glory. He doesn't deserve that death. He deserves a small, pathetic, slow, agonizing death. He's destroyed everything he has touched. Everything is touched. And yet everybody hailed the ending. And the other guy, the young guy that is his sidekick, should have died in the finale. He doesn't deserve to live. So there's no justice in the shows that we have. The Wire is not a good show from this perspective. It's a great show. The Wire is one of the great shows, I think, made in television over the last 20, 30 years. But again, it's way too cynical. Nobody ever succeeds in The Wire. The Wire is one dead end after another. And the police are never happy. Nobody's happy in The Wire. Nobody's successful in The Wire. They do what's right, but they fail. They fail. The system is so rigged against them, they can never be successful. Justified is a good show with positive values. There are others. God, I just saw this because it's nominated for some Emmys. So I saw it while I was flicking television yesterday. There's a show on Apple TV, something chemistry. Something chemistry. God. Something, anyway, chemistry in the title. I'm sure if you search chemistry in Apple TV, you'll find it. That's a show with positive values. I think it's a fabulous show. I really enjoyed it. Chemistry lessons. Thank you, Miroslav. Well, chemistry lessons. It's really good. It's about a woman who, in spite of the chaos, in spite of the irrationality, in spite of the stupidity of people around her, achieves great things in her own life. A woman who pursues self-interest and overcomes obstacles to live a good life. Lessons in chemistry, I'm said. Okay, lessons in chemistry. Anyway, chemistry and lessons in the title. House, I thought, was very good. The first 2 seasons of House. I thought it deteriorated after that. Three Body Problem. I don't know. It's a good show. It's interesting, but I don't. I heard the book is a lot better than the TV show. I'm trying to watch the Chinese version because I'm suspicious of the American version, or the British version, or whatever it is. Oh yeah, there's Mr. Sunshine. And yeah, if you want the best show on television for values, the best, made in the last 20 or 30 years, in my view, it's Mr. Sunshine. By far. By far. David says, Three-Body Problem show science is our salvation. Yeah, but it also causes the problem, and the scientists are kind of lame. They're not exciting. They don't initiate anything. The guy who in the end is left in charge of the whole thing, remember, he kind of doesn't want it, doesn't care, it's just slacking off. He's not inspiring. But Mr. Sunshine, and there was another Korean show, if somebody remembers, another Korean show about the guy who starts a restaurant. Oh God, values, you want values? That show had values in spade. So Korean television, Korean TV drama is very, very, very value driven. No cynicism. No cynicism. I can't watch The Bear. I'm sorry. I know everybody loves it, but I can't watch it. It's way too, the way it's filmed, I can't watch it. That somebody holding a camera on their shoulder and chopping and cutting and moving and constantly, I get seasick. I can't watch it, can't follow it. But I would definitely look at Korean TV dramas, particularly Mr. Sunshine, My Country, My Country, I think it's called. And then the one about the restaurant owner. Anybody know which one I'm talking about? The one about my restaurant, the restaurant owner? Anyone know what that is? I forget the name. Somebody must know. Anyway, I liked the first season of Emily in Paris, and then, then it went south. I liked the soccer one, the one in England. I thought that was good because that was non-cynical. What was the guy, the one in where the guy goes to Lasso? Yeah, season 2 is horrible. Ted Lasso was good, right? Because Ted Lasso, again, I expected Ted Lasso constantly. I expected the cynicism. I expected him to make fun of the idealistic American. And over and over and over and over again, what you got was, no, he's just benevolent and he's just good. And benevolence and good work. I thought it was fabulous. I mean, there were a lot of good TV shows. I'm just saying, Either One Class. Thank you, Miroslav. Miroslav can always be counted on. If you want to watch a TV show about young people that is filled with values, values of romance and love, values of hard work, but more importantly than ever, the value of integrity, a show that can only be compared in terms of the character of the main character to almost to Ayn Rand, I guess, in terms of his integrity and consistency and unwavering, his love of two different women and the choice he makes between them. And there's even a character, one of the women reminds me a little bit of Dominique, who is the cynic, and her conversion to joining the idealistic hero. It's just an unbelievable show. I mean, I watched that show, and it was like, I constantly was like, you have to get through the first episode, because that first episode is very juvenile, I'd say. It seems like a high school drama. But then once you get past that, it's like, I can't believe this is on TV. So Either One Class, loved it. So there's value on TV, primarily in Korean TV, for whatever reason. Something about Korean culture. Daniel, since desires are emotional responses to subconscious beliefs, how does psycho-epistemology shape romantic and sexual desires, and how a person acts on them or doesn't act on them? What sub-basement premises are involved? God. I think a lot, right? I mean, I think your psycho-epistemology plays a huge role. It's one reason to get it in shape and work on it and do a lot of introspection, which is how you get it in shape. So psycho-epistemology is the kind of that link between your conscious mind and your subconscious. Highly, highly recommend Harry Binswanger's talks from the 90s. I think they were in the 90s. That are available, I'm sure, somewhere on the Ayn Rand Institute website or on the Ayn Rand bookstore on psycho-epistemology. I thought they were really, really good. They were some of my favorite Harry Binswanger talks ever. I think the way you deal with it is you bring your desires forward. And you try to understand why you have them. But you also try to understand in what way they're harmful. In what way are they, are they bad for you or good for you? So some desires, you might have a certain preference, I don't know, for brunettes over blondes. But how deep is that preference? How important is that preference to you? And is it really a big deal that you have that preference? Does it really matter? So try to bring it all to consciousness and then think about it. This is what you should do with all your values. You should do with all your desires. Identify them, including your romantic desires, including your sexual desires. I want X in sex. Do I understand why? Is there a problem with me wanting this? Does this mean something? Is there some negative conclusion, negative view I have of sex that is kind of pushing me in this direction? And think it through. Try to analyze it. Try to introspect it and try to analyze it. Don't judge it in the sense, oh, that's bad. I want X, Y, Z. That's bad. Try to really understand it. And I think you'll just be healthier that way. And your attitude towards romance and sex will be healthier the more you work through those things. But those are good questions for Gina when she's on the show. Ask that question for Gina when she's on, right? You want to ask these questions to the psychologist among us. There is no list of Korean dramas I recommend. I'm recommending 3 Korean dramas. It's pretty simple, 3. Right now, I think that's my whole recommendation list. I'm recommending Mr. Sunshine, top of the list, my all-time favorite. Itaewon Class, number 2, Itaewon Class. And number 3 is Country My Country. Those are the 3 I'm recommending. There are others probably on the chat. Maybe you have other favorites, but those are mine. Demon, thanks, Yaron. Needed this episode. A lot going on in the world and in life in general. Good episode. It helps me think things through. I'm glad. Thank you, Demon. Thanks for the support. End of game. Thanks for covering the topic you're on. Very inspiring show. It got me thinking about how much we have to be grateful for. Have a great weekend. That is super important, yes. And we talked about that a little bit, but yes, think about all the things you've got to be grateful for. The world that we live in is filled with things that you can take advantage of, the things that make your life better, things that you should and could be grateful for. Stav, how does powerlusting fit into the history shaped by ideas? JD is a powerluster, but none of his ideas are explicitly about power. Is it the case that ideas are philosophy which translate into psychology or powerlusting? No. I mean, the reality is that you have to ask the question, why is J.D. Vance popular? Why is J.D. Vance in the position that he's in? It's not just because he desires it. It's because there's something in the culture that desires him. Now, what they desire about him is not his power lust. What desire about him is the ideas that he's projecting, whether he believes them fully or not. And I think he does. Maybe they're motivated psychologically by power lust, but I think he does. So the way ideas influence history is by creating a particular kind of culture. And then the culture gets the leadership it deserves. So it's not a question of what ideas did Hitler hold. Because in every period in human history, there's probably somebody who has that nihilistic, vicious hatred and ugliness and irrationality and anger that Hitler had. The question is, why were the German people, why was German culture receptive to that? And that's where you see ideas shaping that culture. And here, look, nobody does this better than Leonard Peikoff. You've got to read the ominous parallels. It's required reading in the world in which we live today. Because it does more than just tell us how bad things are. It shows you at a very, very concrete level, step by step, how ideas shape the culture and therefore make it receptive to the Hitlers of the world. So I can't recommend Ominous Parallels enough. It is so, so, so crucial to read this book, particularly now. Now's the time to read it, to understand, and to get this connection between ideas and history. I mean, Dim as well, but Dim is more advanced, more difficult, and more narrow. Ominous Powers really deals with philosophy, its impact on culture, and how do we get the political outcome that we do. Dim takes one aspect of philosophy, which Leonard thinks is the most important, a view of integration in Dim, right? And then how that plays out in every culture historically. It's harder to understand. You should read it, but I would definitely start with Ominous Powers. Dim is not a beginner's book. Ominous Powers is. If you're new to objectivism, or if you're middle of the road, if you're any point in your objectivism, from beginner to advanced, read Ominous Powers and reread it. Reread it. And yes, Ominous Powers is something, even if you're not an objectivist, you could read and understand. Whereas Dim, you have to be an objectivist really to grasp. All right. Lucinda decided to bake some potatoes instead of ordering food. So I got some more money left for donations today. God, please don't go on a potato-only diet so you can donate to the Yaron Brook Show. Food is an important value. Good food is an important value. Baked potatoes are nice, but you can't live on baked potatoes, guys. The Irish tried, and it didn't go well for them at all. At all. It didn't go well for the Irish. So please, Lucinda, at least have some toppings in the potatoes and do some. Hope this will be a positive show, and thank you for the great work you do. Thank you, Lucinda. Really appreciate your support. Andrew said, humorous moment during Trump's son's speech when he proclaimed that, unlike Biden, Trump did not set up his family to profit from his position as president. And the camera panned to Jared Kushner. Really? So the cameraman had the wherewithal, the knowledge to pan to Kushner. Yeah, right. That is funny. I'm sorry I missed that. I can't watch these things. They drive me nuts. So I did not watch the convention. I read it afterwards. Once in a while, I'll watch one of Trump's speeches. Jared Kushner, with his billions from Saudi Arabia. God. Ryan, Yaron, this is your chance to go to the convention and take over the party. Yeah, we talked about that. John, will we see Tucker Carlson as a press secretary? That'd be interesting. I don't think so. I think Tucker Carlson wants more freedom than they would grant him under those circumstances. So I don't think so. Ryan, it's only a matter of time until Trump claims he will make God great again, and that God before Trump was a total loser. You're absolutely right, and I'm kind of surprised Trump hasn't said that already. I mean, you would have expected that to have already occurred. So, but yes. Thomas says, hey, Yaron, can you explain the idea that money would not exist in a non-commodity economy? Money would not exist in a non-commodity economy. I don't even know what that means. What is a non-commodity economy? I don't know what it means. I don't know what a non-commodity economy is. I mean, money would exist in any free economy. The only place money doesn't exist is under complete totalitarianism, where all resources are just allocated based on whatever, not based on money. So that would be it. James, Alex Epstein and Blake Scholl are the first wave of hyper-successful objectivist entrepreneurs. Will there be more successful objectivist entrepreneurs in the culture before intellectuals? Well, I consider Alex an intellectual entrepreneur. I don't consider Alex primarily just an entrepreneur. I think Alex is an intellectual entrepreneur, whereas Blake Scholl is just a straight-up entrepreneur. But I don't know what'll come first. I don't know. You'd think there'd be more successful objectivist entrepreneurs before intellectuals, but we already have intellectuals, and our first intellectual entrepreneur, which is Alex. But yeah, I mean, I think there are going to be many, many more of all of the above. I don't know how many and which type and when. I don't know. Eric, thanks for the deep dive into Vance. Value for value. Appreciate that, Eric. Thank you. James, it seems that Peter Theil has an enormous respect for Alex Epstein. How did the two get connected? I hope Alex is moving him away from the Catholic reactionary thinking. I don't know how they got connected. I mean, my guess is Peter Theil is very engaged and involved in what's going on in the world, and I'm sure he came across Alex's stuff on energy and got connected. Again, I've been connected to Peter Theil on and off over the years. I doubt very, 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 very much that Alex can move Peter away from Catholic reactionary thinking. And I don't know how much time Alex devotes to that kind of thinking, to convincing people like Peter Theil to do it. I just don't know. So, but I wouldn't count on it. It's not what Alex does, and Peter's not easily convinced. I think one of the reasons Peter and Alex connected is because their ideas overlap. And Alex brought a fresh, new, exciting, driven perspective to it. Jack, thanks, Yaron. I appreciate your time and information. Thank you, Jack. Hopper Campbell. Watching the RNC, a lot of the audience seems like uneducated bumpkins and probably wouldn't enjoy you wouldn't enjoy having over for dinner. I would be embarrassed if this were my base. I mean, I agree with that completely. I know these people. Many of them were in the Tea Party when I was giving talks to the Tea Party. I've met many of them over the years in different places, and they're not that interesting. They're just not the kind of people you would want to have dinner with. Now, not all of them. There's some good people there, but many of them are not particularly exciting people to hang out with. Fend up bumping Gene Maroney's Happiness Talks from Ocon. Yes, you should listen to Gene Maroney's Happiness Talks from Ocon. Never understood happiness with as much certainty as I do after watching those. Cool. Eric, also thank you for the positive show. I take the bar in a week and I'm grateful for some positivity. Excellent. Good luck with the bar. I hope you pass. I'm sure you will. Alec, ever since YB banned Scott, Trump was shot and the official internet has stopped working. Please continue banning more trolls. I will. I'm dedicated to banning more trolls. Matt, would you be more or less happy if you ate an incredible meal for dinner every night? Is good food always a positive, or would it remove what's special? Well, I mean, there's incredible, and that there's incredible. I mean, and of course, if you ate the same good meal every night, it would get boring. It would be boring very quickly. So variety is good. Different levels is good. But I think I could be happy with if I ate the same, a different incredible meal for dinner every night. Yeah, I think I could, at least for a while. Maybe I'd get tired of it. I think when I go and sometimes my wife and I go on these trips where we eat at really some of the top restaurants in the world, and we do it one night after the other for a few nights. And it does get a little much after like 2 or 3 times partially because it's a lot of food. And you're devoting a lot of energy to eating food. And it does get much. So you have to take a break. So I do agree that every night is much but if it was smaller portions and it wasn't quite as formal, then yeah, I could do it every night. I have no problem eating great food every night. Again, as long as it's in the right portion and not too stuffy, not too formal. Andrew, you were asked how you can deal with the ugliness of the world. And I thought, if he's seeing that view of the ocean through that awesome condo regularly, he's experiencing beauty, aesthetics matter. Yes, And it's not just the ocean. It's not just the view, which is, I have one of the best views ever. But I'm surrounded by beautiful things. I'm surrounded by art. I'm surrounded by beautiful furniture. Every piece of furniture in our living room, in our bedroom, is thoughtful. We've thought about it. We put it there for a purpose, particularly in the living room. Everything is targeted for a particular purpose. We have, every wall is covered with posters, paintings, whatever. Every nook has got a sculpture in it or a flower in it. It's got something nice, and the furniture is nice. And my wife designed a beautiful kitchen, and everything we have is just nice, beautiful. Aesthetics matter. Lucinda, I also highly recommend turning your home into something exciting and fun. I spent weeks planning how I designed my room and got myself a nice painting and stuff before I moved to my current place. Yes, and as I think you know, because I've said this in the past, I have an 85-inch television, right? And I have a really nice sound system. So in the evening when I want to relax and I want to sit down and watch a movie or watch a TV show, it's 85 inches. I mean, yeah, and I would never get a smaller TV now. So and now you can get 85 TV for $1,000. It's like ridiculous not to. So make it fun. Is there any validity to having Taiwan pay U.S. to commit to defend its sovereignty? No, because you don't want, we're not again for hire. We're either defending its sovereignty because it's in our interest to defend its sovereignty, or not. But our soldiers are not mercenaries. They're not defending whoever pays the highest amount. Right. So, no, I think there's validity in saying, Taiwan, if you want us to help you, you better invest heavily in your own military. So you need us to the smallest amount so we don't have to send a lot of troops. Because while defending you is in our interest, it's even more in your interest. So show us you're committed to it. But no, I don't want other countries paying us money so we defend them. I think that's very corrupting, very dangerous. In a sense, Saudi Arabia has been doing that for decades. Not good. Dave says, when are we doing an Objectivist meetup at Rosella? I don't know. Maybe we can do it. Rosella's a little small, but maybe we can still do it. Maybe we can get, I think there's a table outside if the weather's nice. Yeah, I mean, maybe next time I'm in New York, which I'm not planning to be anytime soon. So I don't know is the answer, but let's work on it. Let's try and make it happen. Lately, when I've been going to New York, I've been going on days that Rosella is closed. It just sucks. Something. Thank you for needed fuel and tips to get back into serious living. You mentioned positive shows to get less engagement. So now that this just inspired me to become a monthly donor on Patreon. Thank you. And yeah, we raised, we got over $1,000 today. So we blew away the goal. So you guys have convinced me that I need to do positive shows because God, yeah, I make a lot of money on positive shows. I should do more of these. and yeah. Apollo Zeus, what do you think about getting with a problematic woman? Well, it depends on what problematic means. I don't know what it means to be problematic. And what are her values? Cost benefit. So you have to define problematic. I don't know. If they're real deep problems, then yeah, it's going to be a problem. I wouldn't do it. But how big are the problems? What are their nature? How are they going to affect your relationship? What do you project into the future? And more importantly, what are her virtues? Hopper Campbell. Puerto Rico is a bit of a dump. Me and my partner considered moving there to save money. At what point is it worth eating the taxes just to enjoy a first world lifestyle? That's completely your call. I can't make a call like that for you. I mean, Puerto Rico is a dump, but I live in a beautiful place, partially because I guess I could afford it. And I eat out at amazing restaurants, right? So, but I wouldn't move here if I couldn't afford to live in a great condo. I wouldn't. So I think moving to Puerto Rico makes sense if you're wealthy enough to live in a great place and structure your life here in a way where the dumpiness of Puerto Rico doesn't affect you that much. Lucinda, $50, more positive shows 50 euros. Thank you, Lucinda. Really, really appreciate it. And Lucinda found a diary from when I was 8 years old. And it has lists of values and potential values and a page with a hierarchy line with values and friends on it. I was surprised they did that so young. Yeah, that is pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. Congratulations, I guess. That's phenomenal. So for you to do it today is much easier because you already trained yourself in a sense to do that. Mark says, how rough was the hurricane season being on PR? So far, not rough at all, but hurricane season really starts affecting Puerto Rico in the second half of August and usually September. By October, hurricanes are usually elsewhere. But so the worst time for hurricanes is September for Puerto Rico. Starts in late August. Ben Jackson, I live in New York City, but my wife is French. We're considering a move to EU for my career. List, London, Milan, and Paris. What do you think as an American? I mean, first, wow. Any one of those places would be an amazing place to spend a few years and to live for a while. As an American, the easiest place is London. Just basically to speak English. So it's by far the easiest. So in that perspective, Paris, beautiful, amazing. You have to deal with the French, not easy. And there's a little bit of a, political uncertainty right now in France. I don't know how that manifests in terms of living. Food is amazing. Culture is amazing. Museums are amazing. Yeah, I mean, London and Paris are the top cities in the world for food and for entertainment and for culture and for things like that. You just can't beat the museums, the concerts. Milan, it puts you in Italy. And it puts you in driving distance from, first of all, Milan's a wonderful city in terms of culture and food. But then it puts you in driving distance from Venice, from Lake Como, from Florence, Modena, and not that, Rome is not that far away. And that's Italy. Wow. I mean, it's just a great place to be. So you can't go wrong. As an American, the easiest way to transition to Europe is through London because of language. The Godfather, YB, where's the Fun Financial Friday? Fun Financial Friday. I have my brokerage account open, ready to hear your thoughts. JK, joke about the account. I'll start with this. Who are some institutional investors you follow? I don't follow investors. I mean, I don't know what it means to follow. I think people who publicly give advice about investing are almost always wrong and bad, and I don't follow anybody. And in my view of investing is very simple. For 99.9% of you, it's buy index funds and have a well diversified portfolio. So I don't follow what's her name that invest in tech, and I don't follow. I don't know who I don't even know who the people would be. The last guy in the world that I follow, who I would do exactly the opposite of everything he says, is James Cramer on CNBC, who is an entertainer. He knows nothing about investing. Look, people who know how to do this right, people who know about investing and what to invest in, don't make it public. They don't make it public. They make money. They're the people who go start their own hedge funds and make money. So I don't trust anybody who is talking about investing. I only trust people who actually do the investing. If I could mimic what Warren Buffett did, I would, but I can't. And what he says doesn't help me do it. Apollos, the morality of zoos. Why is that a moral issue? As long as the animals are treated well and there's an entertainment value in seeing them, I don't see the problem. I mean, if the zoo is awful and they're mistreating the animals and they're beating them or they're not feeding them right or they're not giving them enough space to roam, I mean, I'm willing to be convinced otherwise, but I don't see the immorality of a zoo. Andrew, an addendum to why children give up on values. I don't think children are being formed with the intestinal fortitude to overcome obstacles. Kids who are spared from hurt may live a life of stagnation. So, I mean, you need some hurt. I don't know. You need challenges, but I wouldn't put it as hurt. So children are very susceptible to the influence of adults around them, and it takes a significant amount to a significant person to overcome a bad upbringing. But there are people who do it. There are people who do it. So why do they do it and not others? Other than their own will, I have no explanation. Their own character. But children should be challenged. Children should be allowed independence. They should be allowed to fail. Right? So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that children can. There's a lot of things parenting-wise. Independence, challenges. I think we devote way too much fear, inculcate in our children too much fear. Lucinda, we take it for granted now, but the fact that international TV is so accessible now is another thing to put on the list of things to be grateful for. Yeah, I mean, I just finished an entertaining Greek television show, which I've never watched a Greek show in my life, called, what was it called? Something with blue and music in the title. Anyway, it wasn't great, but it was fairly good. Lucinda also says, I think you underestimate my cooking skills when it comes to potatoes. I think I do. I do underestimate your cooking skills when it comes to potatoes. Added plenty spices and cheese, and they definitely don't taste like your average potatoes. Oh, okay, but then it's not like you just bake potatoes. Like cheese is a whole other food group. So I had baked potatoes with cheese. Now, okay, that I get. But if you just say baked potato, it's just baked potato. Like you could have even put bacon on it. You could put all kinds of things on it. But yes, cheese is good. Spices, definitely good. Sounds good. Enjoy your meal. Raphael, what South Korean shows tell us about South Korean culture? I don't know. I mean, South Korea is filled with mixed messages. It has these amazing shows that show a serious culture, a culture of values, but it also has, I don't know, very low birth rates, very low marriage rates, very low rates of sexual activity, which suggest, I don't know, I think maybe a sense of, they also are the hardest working people on planet Earth. They work more hours than anybody else, right? Which, I don't know, worries me about maybe a duty premise there, particularly if they're not enjoying it and having sex and having kids. And then they also make things like Squid Games, which was an awful show, just an awful show. But there's got to be something healthy in the culture. I don't know exactly what. I've been to South Korea. I've tried to figure it out. I haven't. I just don't know. They are free. They value their freedom. But what is about, they seem to, you know, it's the country with the most plastic surgery in the world. They seem to have values, but maybe some of them are superficial. Some of them are duty bound. And maybe their TV is fighting against that. Yeah. Andrew says, motivated to push you past 1100. Thank you, Andrew. I'm surprised this positive show was so lucrative. Did you think your audience needed it? I think that's probably part of it. Haven't had one in a while. And it hasn't been, you know, the number of people watching live has been fairly low as compared to recent shows, like the show I did on Vance, the show I did on Convention, the show I did about the shooting of Trump. Those had much higher numbers watching live. And usually when you have high numbers watching live, you also get high numbers on the Super Chat. And this time we got just under about 100 people watching live, a little above, a little below, but bouncing around 100. And yet, here we are, and it's done phenomenally well. So I think the people who watched it are the people who came because they needed it and wanted it and were willing to show their gratitude by using the Super Chat. The Godfather, Lou Dobbs died. Thoughts on his career? I mean, obviously, Lou Dobbs was incredibly successful. I never liked Lou Dobbs. And I met Lou Dobbs, and our interaction was very negative. Lou Dobbs struck me as, I mean, Lou Dobbs was a precursor to MAGA. He was the first MAGA. He was angry and hateful. Angry and hateful. I think in the old days, he was kind of free market, but as soon as you peeled it away a little bit, you found his statist and his statism and his motivation through anger. I was on his show a couple of times. We argued about a bunch of things, but the last time I was on his show, I was there live. I was in studio with him. And my atheism came up. And he got so angry. He was yelling at me, and I was yelling at him. But he was, like, completely lost it. He's the host of the show. Completely lost it. And he knew he was an atheist. It wasn't new to him. As compared to, let's say, Glenn Beck, who just was a pleasure to always deal with. I mean, often Glenn Beck was a nutty, but was always respectful and asked good questions, interested in what you had to say, disagreed respectfully, back and forth. But this guy would just yell and lose it, and his I mean, he really was the first guy that I remember. Maybe Pat Buchanan was the first one. Maybe this is the second one. The first guy I remember really being vicious about immigrants. Vicious about immigrants, particularly illegal immigrants, but vicious about them. didn't like him at all. But he was very successful. And he shaped, in many ways, he saw the culture before it was there. He represented the culture before it got there. Thomas, I was reading The Theory of Money and Credit by Mises, and he begins it by saying a society is a complete totalitarian state, in a complete totalitarian state, wouldn't have money. And I didn't understand why. Can you explain? Yeah, because you don't need it. A completely totalitarian state, everybody gets what the authorities decide they should get. You don't go to a store, or you go to a store, but the store already knows what you should get. So everything is determined by the authorities. Money is a way for you to choose your values. So instead of bartering and getting a good, you get a piece of paper that represents a value. You get gold that represents a value that you can now trade for anything. You get to decide what you're going to spend it on. That's the whole point of money, to give you the ability to choose. In a completely totalitarian state, there is no individual choice. You get what they decide you should get. So you might have a coupon for bread or something like that, but you don't have money in the sense that you can take it and buy anything you want, because there are no wants. So the nature of totalitarianism is the destruction of wants. All right, last two questions. Drewski, Venezuelan migrants and refugees in Colombia accounted for a $929 million economic impact in the country in 2022, according to a new study by the International Organization of Migration. So this is plus. Look, Colombia accounted for impact on the country. I assume this is a positive, not a negative. Look, immigrants are positive. Economists have done an estimation that if we opened up all the borders in the world right now, just open up the borders and let people go wherever they wanted to go, and allowed them to work, GDP per capita would double. Double. Now, that's average GDP per capita, so maybe in a rich country, yours wouldn't double. It would still go up significantly. But the world GDP per capita would double just by that fact. I mean, one of the great ways to make us rich is through immigration. This is why it's such an injustice to us, never mind to the immigrant, that we don't allow more immigration. Slow Green Turtle. Your books, there's several used in Peikoff's great Intro to Logic. What's the brown book to the right of Aristotle? Brown book to the right of Aristotle. This one? It's The History of Philosophy by William Windelband. It was recommended, I think, by Leonard Peikoff. Is that what you were asking for? Hopefully that was the one. All right. Jennifer, saw Dobbs on Stasso's show like 10 years ago. He was nasty to Stasso. I hated him for that. Yeah. Yeah, he was a nasty guy. He was unhappy, nasty guy. All right, everybody. Thank you. I mean, this has been terrific. I really appreciate it. It not only did we blow away the gold, but we did it with, you know, there were a few people gave significant money, particularly Troy from Australia, and David did just under $100. But we didn't get like a flurry of $100 questions to get us to this. I mean, the nice thing is there was nicely distributed. A lot of people participated. A lot of people asked questions, a lot of $20 questions. some 50s. Thank you, Jennifer and Tom and Lucinda. But it was nicely distributed. A lot of people participated the way it should be. Thank you. Yes, I said Jennifer did 50. Jennifer and Tom did 50. So that is amazing. Thank you all. Really, really appreciate it. And I will see you all on Monday. Those of you who understand Hebrew, I'll do the show on Sunday in Hebrew. Andrew has a last-minute question. What would be your 2 recent events of the last few years that would be analogous to the space launch, Woodstock, and Apollo and Dionysus? Like you compare them, and it's hard to believe they occurred in the same universe. Oh, God, that's a hard one. I mean, I know you guys will hate me for this. Some of you will hate me for this. How about mRNA vaccines in 9 months or less and BLM? And BLM. And of course the vaccine deniers and all that, but BLM as an event, right? I think that contrast of the tech, the ability of smart scientists and engineers to create something amazing, life-saving, and at the same time, people destroying what they did. Andrew says, SpaceX and Tucker. Yeah, that's true. I mean, Tucker and Russia is too small scale. We're talking about big cultural events. All right, people don't want to stop. Ben asks, you value aesthetic beauty highly in art, travel, design, and more. I've discovered style, suits, quality knits, sweaters, nice leather suits, shoes. I have no appreciation for that kind of style. I wear, comfortable. I'm barefoot right now. I'm in shorts. I'm in shorts all day. When I go to a restaurant in the evening, I'll put on slacks. I have basically one type of slacks. I've got 20, whatever, how many I've got of them. I wear the same slacks. If you see me at Ocon, that's what I wear whenever I wear slacks, same slacks. I don't even own jeans. I find jeans too thick and, uncomfortable. I wear shorts. I'm barefoot. If I go outside, I wear sandals. I almost never wear shoes. I don't like, anywhere I can wear sandals, I wear sandals. Short sleeve shirts like this. I guess a collar and button down is me trying to be a little bit respectable with you guys. I'm not wearing a t-shirt right now. I've never valued clothes and style. I place too much of a value. I have a huge value on comfort. One of the reasons I don't like cold is that you have to wear too many clothes. Like, I don't want to wear clothes. So, too many clothes. So, you put layers on, and it's uncomfortable. And then, what? One of the things I hate the most when I'm traveling is it'll be cold, like in, I don't know, Stockholm. It'll be freezing up. I'll have 5 layers on to keep me warm or whatever. And then I'll walk into a store, like a store, and they've got the temperature up to 80 degrees, and all the clothes have to come off. But I'm in a store. I'm only going to be there for 10 minutes, and then I have to put them back on. Shorts and a t-shirt all day long. So no tie. Don't wear a tie. Not going to wear it. I mean, I'll wear a tie if I have to. No suits. No. I wear a jacket when I travel because of, when I do talks and stuff. But yeah. So sorry, Ben. I mean, not sorry. You have your values. I have mine. It is what it is. It's the beauty of the world. We're each individuals. We each have our own values. No, I don't want suits. It's not that I need help with them. I don't want them. I don't want them. Ain't wearing them. Ain't happening. Life is too short for me. Now, those of you who value suits, go for it. Enjoy. Have fun with it. Don't expect me to join you. All right. Thank you, guys. You've been fun and you've been generous, and I appreciate it. I will see you all Monday. Have a great weekend. And we continue with the fun. Bye.